Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
So once again we are meeting on the platform of Happy Gujarat team, and today I am sharing with you few symptoms which is Tri-Miasmatic. Actually it is not taught, but it is I have compiled something and I have used this medicine in 2 cases and I got a wonderful result. So before starting Materia Medica, I am sharing orally a case of a lady. She had a complaint of itching, especially on the back, neck, and both ankle. So the assessing part of the body having itching and constantly that is affecting her. So it was diagnosed as neurotic eczema, and this complaint she had since few months. So no other complaint she had. She had a mild constipation and has to stain for the stool. This was just a complaint she had. So on inquiring this, mostly we used to inquire that we have a skin complaint. So in the most of time we have a skin complaint, we inquire about the interpersonal relationship and the environment she is dealing with. So in that case I used to inquire about the mental history of the patient, and she started with the process that she is by profession teacher and she is taught 5th standard student English medium. She had graduated MA, MEd. Initially she had joined college, but due to the environment and no communications, or there is a gap between the tuning between the students and the teacher, so she left that job and she had a good communication with the kids. So she joined school 5th standard and English medium. But what she told me about that, since childhood I am good in the language but not good in the mathematics. So she always said that I am good in language, so I got more than 75-80 marks, but in mathematics hardly I get 35 marks. So it was very difficult for me to get the mathematics, and I am very poor in mathematics. Though her husband was good analytics and my profession I don't know, but he is good in mathematics. So she said we have the process that I have no knowledge of mathematics, he has everything, so no issue with our life. Okay, fine. Then she said that physically, intellectually she is very good, but only the mathematics is the problem. And even though she said that I don't want to remember the numbers, even there is a problem with the numbers, there is a problem with the mistakes in the money counting, and even she forget the time also. So even she don't know what was the amount is going into provident fund and what was the actual salary I get. So she don't know the actual calculations. What she is working since 16 years in the reputed school as a 5th standard English medium student teacher. She said that I am a luckiest person and everything. So it was. She said I always recommend with the good people and everything. But this is not matter with us. So this is what I am finding. I didn't find any conflict with the interpersonal relations. She said that there is a in-laws, the in-laws has some issues. Always there is some issues in the family. So she said the same thing is happening with me also. So she says initially I used to be very irritable and cranky, and cries before the menses. This was one of the another symptoms I got in the menstrual history. Mostly become angry when she is hungry, and before menses she got angry. Most of time she feels that if I do some mistake, or if by chance I had done some mistake, I used to reproach myself. So this is what her feelings, that why I have done this mistake, I should not have to do this mistake. So this is what she said like this. Mare dhyan rakhu joye. That was her feelings. And he says that there is something that even her son was Alzheimer's. So you obviously know that how to handle this kind of child. So most of time she used to have a conflict with the son, because son is very inquisitive, asking many questions, and even son says that you don't know a little mathematics. I can count this, why you cannot? And that was the conflict happening. So she used to get scolded and worse from that. So this was just a history, and she said I was confused in something, that I used to go somewhere. Even I have to come to your clinic, I got confused where to go, because many a time I have come to your clinic, but till now my son says that this road is going to Sir's clinic. We have to go by this way, and that is the thing. So she is going to have confusions during that phase, and that was the basic history I got. So initially I prescribed different remedy, and I didn't get result. She loves to have, she wants a love, so her basic sora is love, and she is left-sided. So mostly left-sided people are more over emotional kind of personality. There is a lack of, so I got the things happening. They are more sensitivity. She said that my memory is very active, but I have weakness in the counting and the things. So I have a good mind. I can remember everything. I can remember language. I can remember the poems. I can remember all the things which she used to teach in the school. But the calculation is the worst for me. That was the things. She is very, very sensitive. So small thing will affect her, and she had one thing, said that once husband give me a ring. She see what was the feelings of love what I got, that once husband give the ring, a diamond ring, and she put just by putting on the table. So she said that if you want to give me something, a gift, a precious thing, you have to give by the love. If you are not giving by the way of expression of love, I will not accept it. That was her feeling. So that is what the things that she got. She wants the love. Same way, she says that mother-in-law and Bhabhi equally want to treat me properly. But if they don't treat her properly, she will not accept anything from that. So that was the feeling. So she mostly wants respect as well as love from the persons. So on the basis of this, and she always used to have a feeling of remorse that I have done these things, I should not have to do this thing, I have done this mistake. So that was the thing constantly happening in her mind. So from the base of this point of view, I found that when you have to treat something which is chronic, so she had a 4 or 5 months have a chronic eczema, chronic irritations, and itching, diagnosis in neurotic. Mostly it is related to the psychological phenomena. So on the basis of that, I found that if anything which is PQRS to your disposition you get, you can take into considerations. So that is what I got, that in the whole history I didn't get not so much of sensitivity, but the reactions I got, that one reaction is she always want to have reproaching herself. So that was the syphilitic reactions we usually, and that is what she is constantly scratching, and there is a bleeding and itching, and that is the thing. So that also correlating with the process. She is hurting themselves. Okay, this one kind of autoimmunity. And one thing that she always usually feels that guilty, so she is on the verge of remorse. Every time she is like doing like that, I should have not do this. Because of the past event, she goes into phase of remorse. So I took two rubrics: remorse, reproach itself as a reaction. And one thing which is very PQRS, that she has a problem in the calculations, she has a problem with the numbers, she has a problem with remembering the thing. So the things which I took as an entry point is the mathematics enough for mistake in calculating. That was the rubric. So out of this 3 rubrics, I got the remedy, and I confirm by asking that if you have to go somewhere by driving, if you have to go by right, and do you think that you go left side? So she said, always it happens with me. I do mistakes by right or left side. I don't understand what was the side. But then I realized that, oh, I am on the wrong way, so I came back and then I go to the right way. But it happens many a times. So to confirm these things, and I found that this was the confirmatory rubric what sir has taught when the confusion between the side right and left. So another remedy is lycopodium. So same way lycopodium and the germanium mat. So in the repertoire totality lycopodium is not there. So I prescribed germanium mat to her, and to my surprise within 15 days her 70% itching and scratching has relieved, and that was the things that germanium act wonderfully. So this was the oral case of germanium. Another case I am sharing with you of a girl. Why I am sharing with you the feelings? Because when I am going to we are going through the journey of germanium, we came across certain symptoms, and then we correlate that this is happening in that case. That is why I am sharing with you a oral case. So in that case, another case of a girl who is suffering from hypothyroidism, and she had weight gain. So what was the situation? Very young girl of 18, 19 years. I used to prescribe, initially I had prescribed Calcarea iode because she had thyroid development in the time of puberty. But Calcarea iode didn't help much. Initially it was good, but again weight is gaining. So she came back to me. So she said, previously अच्छा था, now my weight is put on, and it was 92/9. So it was very high weight. So most of the time the mother came with her, and mother is always criticizing her that ये ध्यान नहीं रखती है, खाना खा लेती है, उसका कुछ करती नहीं है. By profession, she is a nutritionist. She wanted to pursue a nutrition and she wanted to do something. So she joined one gym, and in the gym she started doing work as a nutritional expert. And she had done this job for almost 2-3 months. But in 2-3 months of span, she feels that this is not good place for me, because they will treat you as a servant, not as a nutritionist. So I don't like that. I don't get respect from that also. So that was again one thing for reminding you as the theme of respect. So घर से बोलते रहते थे कि मम्मी बोलती रहती वेट कम करो. Again I asked कि क्यों ऐसा क्यों कह रहे हैं घर वाले कि क्यों वेट कम करो. तो मम्मी बोलती है कि अभी सर शादी होनी है, शादी करेंगे तो फिर वेट कम होगा तो अच्छा लड़का मिलेगा तो शादी हो जाएगी तो हम फ्री हो जाएंगे. तो दैट वाज अ मदर्स फीलिंग. बट द डॉटर सेज दैट मुझे शादी करनी ही नहीं है. सो इनिशियली वी थॉट दैट इट इज अवर्जन टू मैरिज मोस्ट ऑफ टाइम. But I asked what is actually the feelings you develop, that why you don't have to do the marriage. So she said that मेरे पीछे पड़े हैं रिश्ता ढूंढने के लिए. So again one thing is persuaded feeling, but it is not actually the persuaded feeling. मैंने पूछा शादी मतलब क्या? So the answer she said that शादी जेल लगती है. शादी जेल लगती है, ग्रोथ नहीं होगा उसमें. क्या करेंगे? शादी जेल जैसी लगती है, सबको पूछ के करना पड़ता है, वो पसंद नहीं है, मुझे अपने मन की नहीं कर सकते, सब बोलेंगे वैसे ही करना पड़ेगा, मुझे नफरत हो गई है, मुझे शादी के नाम से नफरत है. And that is what I took aversion to marriage, but it is not actually the aversion to marriage, but the beyond that the things that she had in the perception. So she said, I asked why you like this. So she said that मुझे कुछ मांगना होता है तो ऐसा लगता है कि वो देंगे या नहीं देंगे. I know why you feel like this, because in the childhood she has a strong domination of the father. So father is very dominating. So mother is okay, but father is very dominating. So she said that कि सर एक बात बताओ, आपको शादी करने में 25 लाख रुपया खर्चा कर देंगे पर मुझे अगर पढ़ाई करनी है ना तो 2 लाख रुपया फी भी नहीं दूंगे. दैट वाज माय फादर. सो मच सो स्ट्रॉन्ग डोमिनेशन. मेरे भैया को सब कुछ मिलता है, मेरे को कुछ नहीं मिलता. उसको रिस्पेक्ट मिलता है, मेरे को कुछ मिलता नहीं है. मैं जॉब भी करती हूँ तो चुप चुप पे करती हूँ. मेरे पापा को पता नहीं है कि मैं जॉब कर रही हूँ. एंड दैट वाज अ स्ट्रॉन्ग डोमिनेटिंग हिस्ट्री. सो मुझे लग पैसा नहीं देंगे, बहुत अच्छे अच्छे ड्रीम्स है, मुझे बिजनेस करना है, पर पापा बहुत गुस्से वाले हैं. पापा डांटते हैं, गाली देते हैं, और उसके बाद पापा ऐसा बोलते हैं कि तू कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे. सो मोस्ट ऑफ टाइम द एनवायरनमेंट मेकिंग देम लाइक तेरे में कुछ है नहीं, तो कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे, ऐसा ऐसा. एंड दैट इज व्हाट. सो उसको बहुत बुरा लग रहा था. और आई वाज डूइंग जॉब विदाउट माय फादर्स परमिशंस. और वो बोलती थी कि ट्रेनर का जॉब ऐसा था कि जैसे हम लोग सर्वेंट के जैसे काम करते हैं ना, ऐसा. अभी सर्वेंट का फीलिंग आएगा तो हमको कौन सी मेडिसिन दिमाग में आएगी? सर्वेंट का फीलिंग आएगा तो हमको लैक रेमेडी दिमाग में आएगी कि हम हायरार्की, डोमिनेशंस. ठीक है. सो फिर मैंने बोला फादर के बारे में कुछ बताओ. देखो ना सर, मम्मी का तो पूरा जिंदगी ऐसे ही निकल गया. फादर ने मम्मी को बांध के रखा है, किसी जगह जाना नहीं है. मेरी जिंदगी भी ऐसी है, इसीलिए मुझे शादी जेल जैसी लग रही है. ठीक है. तो क्या लगता है? कोई लिबर्टी नहीं है, कुछ कर नहीं सकते. सो हम सोच रहे हैं इसको लिबर्टाइन पेशेंट जा रहा है. ठीक है. तो केज फीलिंग लग रहा है, जैसे बांध के रखा है वायर के अंदर. फादर यूज्ड टू स्कोल्ड अ लॉट. देयर इज नो फ्रीडम फ्रॉम द फादर. ब्रदर को सब मिलता था, कहीं भी जाता था तो उसको मिलता था, क्योंकि ब्रदर कमाते, पैसा कमाते, तो उसको सब मिलता था. मैंने पूछा चाइल्डहुड में कैसे थे, थोड़ा और बताइए. तो शी सेड आई वाज वेरी ओबेस इन द चाइल्डहुड, वेरी इंट्रोवर्टेड एंड लेस फ्रैंक. एंड बीच में सब अच्छा था. मैंने और आई हैव डिस्क्राइब कैलकेरा. शी सेड आई वाज ओके, बट आफ्टर दैट अगेन द वेट इज पुट अप बिकॉज़ कैलकेरा कार्ड वर्क फॉर द सर्टेन पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. तो कभी कभी में ऐसा लगता है, कभी जाओ तो बात नहीं कर पाती, कोई भी जगह पे जाओ तो मैं बात नहीं कर पाती. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है मैं कुछ हुई नहीं, मैं कुछ हुई नहीं. ठीक है. शी वांट्स मनी, शी वांट्स सपोर्ट एंड शी वांट्स रिस्पेक्ट एज अ नीड. इतनी एज में आकर भी ग्रोथ नहीं हुआ है, स्टक हो गई हूँ. मुझे डर लगता है कि पापा डांटेंगे. आगे कोर्स करना है, लेकिन लगता है कि डांटेंगे, बोलेंगे. उसका उतना डर लगता है पापा का. अभी ऐसा लगता है कि मैं कुछ ही नहीं हूँ, मेरे कुछ टैग नहीं है. मेरा कुछ खुद का एक टैग होना चाहिए. जैसे अभी न्यूट्रिशनिस्ट है, उसका भी कोई टैग नहीं है. मैंने जस्ट शुरुआत किया, मैं कुछ भी नहीं हूँ, मेरा कुछ टैग नहीं लगा. ठीक है. टैग भी नहीं है, मैं क्या करूँ, कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा है. सो दैट वाज आई थिंकिंग दैट खुद का आइडेंटिटी क्रिएट अभी तक कर पाई नहीं. ठीक है. I have not done anything yet. I didn't like this. Never share her feeling with anyone. Only with her one best friend. सबको घर में ऐसा ही लगता है, वो लोग मेरी शादी में 25 लाख खर्च करेंगे, पर मेरे कैरियर के लिए कुछ भी नहीं देंगे. They don't spend money. Okay. So this was the things in the history. Now how to understand the feelings of the patients. One thing she said that the life is like a jail. It is not a shadi. Shadi is just one situation. But why? Because the whole life mother suffer. I used to suffer the same. So who will suffer the feeling of jail? The person who is residing into the jail. So feeling that she has the feeling that I am a prisoner. Because बांध के रखा है. So delusion prisoner she is. Actually it is not prisoner, but the feelings that she developed. So delusional prisoner she is. She said that मैं कुछ भी हुई नहीं, कुछ टैग ही नहीं है. That means she is going toward the crisis of their identity. So one thing I took confusion of identity. But before going to confusion identity, I found that nutritionist है, कर भी लेती है, जॉब भी किया है, पर वो खुद को ऐसा मान रही है कि मैं कुछ कर नहीं सकती. That means I am nobody. मेरा कुछ अस्तित्व नहीं है. So delusion, nobody he is or she is. And the third thing, why this happened? The sensitivity going to lead to this process because too much strong domination of the father and the scolding. So she feels that again father अभी scold नहीं कर रहे, फिर भी उसको तो डर लग ही रहा है कि मुझे डांटेंगे, बोलेंगे, पैसा नहीं देंगे ऐसा. So that is again a third delusion I put into that, and that was delusion criticized she is. So I entered this three rubric, and the remedy came with germanium mat. I prescribed germanium mat, she is fine. But what is that? This is what I need to share with you. One aspect of another case is different. Whereas the mathematic aptitude is, again I confirm these things in this patient also. I said, do you have confusion in right or left? She said, yes sir, always. I used to have the confusion in right and left. So that was the confirmatory point. I prescribed germanium mat. So these are the two cases which I came across in my practice, and after that I read the germanium in the depth. So we will going towards the understanding of germanium metallicum in depth. So it was proved by Jeremy Sher in 1992, and there is one article. Out of this article I took all the things from the data of germanium, and it is Sonia Doyle which has made this article. So she used to say that the germanium is close to carcinosis. Now you understand why it is close to carcinosis. We have seen the case of strong domination. So now the whole correlation comes into the understanding of germanium. Close to carcinosis, more is conscious about its anger. उसको गुस्सा आता है पर she goes into reproaching self. They are conscious. He feels bitterness inside. He feels rancor inside. Whereas in carcinosis appear as a conciliating and consenting prisoners. Germanium is perfectionist in order to gain good opinion from the other. So that is what again you can think. Germanium comes into the ferrum line. So in the ferrum line we have palladium, platina, ferrum and this remedy. So all the remedy wants appreciation. The same way this remedy also wants appreciation and good opinion from the others. But she didn't get. And when she didn't get, she goes into state of self-reproach, remorse and self-depreciations. So this is what happens. Carcinosis is a test for a beautiful and perfect. So carcinosis wants to be perfect and beautiful and molded according to the situation. Okay. So this is a general introductions of the germanium. Germanium has a poor opinion of the himself. खुद के लिए opinion poor है, but she wants appreciation from others. You know, palladium में ऐसा नहीं है. Palladium has a good opinion of the self, and they want a good opinion from the others. Whereas platina has good opinion of the self, and they don't care about anybody give opinion or not, because they are convinced that I am the best. So same way, this was the difference between platina, palladium, and germanium. You know, they have a feeling that there is a poor opinion, so they goes into a self-depreciation kind of opinion. And simultaneously keeps a sense of pride. Again, the metal remedy, all metal has the sense of pride. You know, we have a metal, the different kind of metal. We have a strong metal and a timid metal, a soft metal or a heavy metal. So all heavy metals are the leader, achiever, go-getters. Then they have a strong willpower and everything. Whereas a timid metal or soft metal, they goes into destructions, or they have a timidity. They have not achieving something, so they have a lack feeling. Same way, aurum and argentum. If you compare, the aurum is the topmost. Argentum always says I am the second one, not the first one. So that was, they have a feeling of comparison. Same way, they have a pride. There is a bitterness, but it stays within, it cannot come out. So when the bitterness within, it cannot come out, one day it can come out. So which are the another remedy having a bitterness? Natrum, nitric acid, very good. So bitterness, but one day it can come out. It cannot come out, it is this rancor that stops the patient to like themselves and believe in themselves. So this bitterness create that मैं ही अच्छी नहीं हूँ. तो हम लोग वो लैक फीलिंग में चले जाते हैं, लैक रेमेडी में, कि लैक को कोई बोल देता है कि तू कुछ काम की नहीं, तो उसको लगता है कि लुक डाउन अपॉन सेल्फ, डेल्यूजन, लुक डाउन अपॉन सेल्फ, मैं ही अच्छी नहीं हूँ. ठीक है. So same feeling that develop out of bitterness and rancor. So you understand, when you have to understand the germanium metallicum, you have to understand the 4 remedy with a different quality, and that quality, if you have found it is combined into one remedy, one person, then the germanium is the remedy. So what is that? The germanium has the straight jacket of the carcinosin. What is the meaning of straight jacket? Always conscientious, diligent, and working perfectly, perfections and everything. This is straightforward persons. Okay? Rancor of the nitric acid. So there is a bitterness inside, there is a rancor, anger, which is build up, like the nitric acid. Where it expressed? It expressed as the relationship in the nitric acid. So in the relationship, it has anger, but it cannot express it. So when the anger is not expressed, it can break the relationship. So why the nitric acid develop cracks? Because this represent relationship. So cracks at the corner of the mouth, nitric acid. Cracks at the anus represent the identity. Anus represent the identity. So when this is a rancor is going deeper, it present as a physical symptom of the cracks. So same way the rancor in the germanium. Again, due to these feelings, they never appreciate themselves. They want appreciation, but their opinion is like this: I am nobody. I have identity crisis. I cannot do anything. So that is going to develop a self-depreciation, same like lectin. That is why the symptoms is matching with the same mammal remedies. One time with carcinosin, one time you look the minerals remedies, and the things is the sensitivity. Always sensitive to opinion of the other, sensitive what other says about, sensitive and dignified like Staphylococcus, because they want respect. So this is what the 4 component of this remedy in one combo. This is the combo of all remedy. That is germanium. So what Sonia Doyle said clinically, the clinical observations is that she mostly used this remedy in allergic reactions and eye symptom, and patients suffer from the protection, obesity and weight loss. Now you have to understand, I had said 2 cases. One case of that is neurotic eczema, it's one kind of allergic dermatitis. One case of thyroid, and which is having obesity. So did you consider that this is something that you have to match it? This is not my observation, this is Sonia Doyle's observation, but I have found this into patients and that I used. So that is what what we call as, we have to match similia similibus curanter. So this is similia similibus curanter. So let's study a few of the symptoms of the mental of the. Most of time we have to understand what is germanium, what is the personality of the germanium, and how we can understand the germanium when the patient comes to us. So this is what we are learning in the Materia Medica. So mostly the emotions are felt with intensity, but cannot come out or are kept under strict control. When you think this, you can think of Staphylococcus. Emotions are there, felt, but it cannot come out. मैं बोल नहीं सकती, गुस्सा आता है, पर ऐसा है कि सबके सामने बोलना नहीं बोलेंगे. Again, suppress anger or explosion of the anger. Same way you can found in the Staphylococcus, either suppress anger or anger can express outburst. Such an exposure is very quickly forgotten and with no feeling of culpability. हो गया, चलो गुस्सा आ गया, फिर भूल जाते हैं. So that was the germanium. The power is blocked inside. There is a feeling of incapability of the self. मैं ही कुछ नहीं कर पाती. लोग मुझे ऐसे ही ताना नहीं मारते क्योंकि मैं नहीं कर पाती. That is what the feeling. The patient once said, I try to be what other thinks I should be. I don't think I can be loved because of all the horrible and poor parties I organize. So this is what we have the thing, that she always reproaches self. She always goes into low self-esteem feelings. So this is what they are like, incapability of the self. How do the other value me? अगर मैं ऐसा ही करूँगी तो लोग मेरी वैल्यू कैसे करेंगे? So most of time to value, they have the feeling that they are being criticized, and that is the reason that they got less value. Okay. So again, they go further, they have a feeling of total failure. Now when you go to the mineral periodic table, in the periodic table always the metal have a performance. But when you go back, then there is a feeling become collapse. So the collapse, and then finally the feeling is of failure. So most of time the germanium has the feeling of the failure. They cannot adapt. They cannot adapt. So inept for everything. Welcome, Dr. Nishan. Fear or element of being found out. So found out means what? Someone has found my mistake. So I go again into the feeling of failure. I go again into the feeling of a prisoner because I had done mistakes. Okay, found out. The feeling of isolation, stranger in the society, and pariah. Pariah means a person who hated and rejected by the other people. So many a time we goes into feeling of despised, isolated. तेरे बस की बात नहीं है, तेरे को यहाँ आना नहीं है, ये कम्युनिटी तेरे लिए नहीं है, तेरे लिए मेरे घर के दरवाजे बंद हो गए हैं. That is what the feelings of being isolation, feeling of stranger in the society. Even though they are in the society, they have the feeling that तू मेरे घर की नहीं है. मेरी बेटी अब मेरी बेटी नहीं रही है. आपने पिक्चर में देखा होगा. लव मैरिज करती है तो खत्म. Stranger in the society. Pariah, the person who hated and rejected by the other people, and being of the another planet. So she feels that I am from the different planet. I am an alien. Okay. Jeremy shall differentiate from the androctonus. Again, androctonus has the same feeling of isolation, stranger in the society, or being from the another planet. But what is the reaction of the androctonus? The androctonus he is a lonely, but having betrayed. So most of time the feeling starts from the betrayal. And the world is the enemy. She always says that I am threatened by the world. So all the worldly people is my enemy. They want to be a solitary soldier and has to fight and kill to survive. So most of time kill desire to. I had prescribed one patient androctonus, a lady having a mental disorders, and she used to snatch her child with the nail on the face and scratch it. And that was the kill desire to her own children. And that is what the tremendous syphilitic state of that lady. So I prescribe androctonus. Actually she is not androctonus, but this is what the state I have prescribed. And that is what they fight and kill to survive. Again, they does not feel connected. Somebody has entered their territory and there is only one solution to close everything. Okay? So they always remain introverted, close, don't want to expose, they want to shut down everything. So again it is a mineral feelings. Dreams of the third reach, concentration camp, air attack of the London, rape, burglars that cannot be fended off, invasion. These are the feelings of the dreams. So in the proving they have this type of dream. Out of this they have the feeling that they are being invaded, or they are in the hell, or they are the prisoners. So these are the feelings out of these dreams they have come. Most of time they goes into feeling of guilty. They used to reproach herself, hate himself, and disgust with himself. When you have a disgust with himself, what the symptoms you develop? Nausea and vomiting. Okay, hate himself. There is a problem with the heart. Okay, so these are the symptoms they develop. Again, very important aspect on the intellectual aspect. These are the emotional phase we are dealing with right now, the feelings and emotions, actions and behavior. Now we are going into the intellectual aspect of the person. So in an intellect, they have a dyslexia, difficulty in the learning disorders, difficulty with the concentrations, there is a confusion, the answer is there, but it cannot come out. So बच्चा आके बोलता है, मम्मी बोलती है इसको घर पे हम पढ़ाते हैं, सब कुछ पढ़ाते हैं, इसको सब आता है, घर पे बोलता है, स्कूल में बोला नहीं बोल पाता है, क्या पता है इसका दिमाग चल नहीं रहा है. This is what dyslexia, one kind of concentration difficulty. जो बात पे फोकस करना है वही फोकस नहीं हो रहा है. ठीक है. कंसंट्रेशन में दो चीज होती है. एक चीज होती है कि खुद कंसंट्रेट करके पढ़ रहा है, दूसरा रिफ्लेक्शन होता है. मतलब एक बार पढ़ लिया उसके बाद वो वापस आ रहा है दिमाग में, तो उसको रिफ्लेक्शन बोलते हैं, which we called as memory. So memory is the reflections of the things which have installed. Okay, so retrieving process is difficult. Some have a retrieving process difficult. Some have the focusing problem. This is the focusing is difficult, the confusing. According to Sholton, they consider this. These are the civil servant persons. They always work in the. See, what is the civil servant? I had a case that she used to work 16 years from the one school. She, by profession, she is a professor of the college, but she used to taught the 5th standard children. So this is the civil servant. Their ability is there, but they used to work as a servant only in the civil department. The conversationist, conformist in his village. So why? Because they used to fight for the society. Because these are the Pharom series remedies. So they used to fight. Somatic affection, these are the few mental symptoms. Now they affecting the body. So somatic affections, mostly it affects the bodily part. It causes extreme weakness, chronic fatigue syndromes. The vital force is leaving the body. The one patient says, my brain was pulled backward. The feeling of heaviness present throughout the pathogenesis. These are the PQRS of the feeling of heaviness. So when you find chronic fatigue syndrome, what was the diagnosis? CFS, one. Second is myalgia, fibromyalgia. Nowadays the patient comes to you with the vague complaint that I used to have a back pain, I used to have a neck pain, I used to have this pain, I used to have body pain. Every time I am tired feelings. You investigate everything, nothing comes out of it, and finally diagnose as fibromyalgia. And that is what. Why fibromyalgia? Muscles is associated with the conflict which we called as the valuations. So in the muscles affections, the person is feeling there is a self-devaluations. And when there is a devaluation, it aches. So same way the fibromyalgia is happening. So this is what in Germanium you can find it. Severe illness with the dysfunctions of the nerve. So mostly the neurological disorders you can find in the Germanium. Liver affections and kidney affections. So we will go in the later slide what was the affections of the nerves and body. Few notes from the Jeremy shares. So Jeremy shares said that they can look inside me. Means the person feels that everybody can look inside me, everybody can see me and laugh at me. They will see who I am. So this was the person's feeling. Now you can think of it, who I am, they laugh at me. So it is like Baraita feeling. Okay. I feel awful inside. Now it is a feeling of lack. Everything is chaos. मैं खुद कोई अच्छा फील नहीं कर पाती. It is safer to suffer than to be happy. Again, it is the feeling of lack. Everything is my fault. Going into reproaching self. I have passed my high periods. Everything is going down from here. So मैं यहाँ थी, अब यहाँ से failure state में जा रही हूँ. This is what the mental feeling of failure state. He understands but cannot bring it out. Means the intellect is not properly working. He is a prisoner due to his environment which hinder him to express himself. Now this line represents whole case of mine. She is a prisoner due to the environment which hinder and express herself. She has an ambition, she wants to do something, but the father is very, very dominating, and that is the reason that she feels I don't want to get married. And she said the marriage is like jail, and that is the reason that we understand this is a prison. Okay. So few of the unique symptoms which Germanium mat we have found in the repertory. So when you ask the Germanium mat certain questions, and the Germanium mat bluntly answer, abruptly answer when you are asking the questions. Abrupt when obliged to speak. The Germanium mat is the only one that we. Many a time aorta is there. We used to prescribe aorta on the basis of in acute cases. But here when you speak, the person speak very abruptly when obliged to speak. कुछ बोलने को बोला, बोल दिया. Careless propensity being sexual desire without. So this is very important. They want to be fondled only. No sexual desire is there. They like to cuddle. They like. So this is the Sora is love. Okay. Color desire brown green in paintings. So mostly brown and green is related to the nature. So mostly green color desire for the mammals remedy. All the mammals love green. Okay. Concentrations active, engage in work and music with intensity. जब ये काम कर रहा है, कुछ म्यूजिक में काम कर रहा है, तो उसका कंसंट्रेशन लगेगा. तो कई बच्चे आते हैं बोलते हैं कि सर हम लोग पढ़ते हैं ना तो ये लोग ईयरफोन डाल के उसमें म्यूजिक सुनते हैं, तभी उसको याद रहता है. ओके कई बच्चे ऐसे होते हैं कि ये म्यूजिक सुनता है ना तो ही उसको सब याद रहता है, अदरवाइज उसको याद नहीं रहता. That is very important. Concentration, active, engage in work and music with intensity. The only remedy is Germanium. Okay. The concentration difficult after skipping. पढ़ता है एक सेंटेंस पढ़ा उसके बाद कुछ डाइवर्जन हुआ, then concentration गया. कुछ स्किप किया, concentration गया. ठीक है. Concentration waking on. सुबह उठता है, concentration रहता है. Confidence, want of concentration difficult, yawning with. Most of time they are got tired, the brain is tired, so they have another phenomenon, concentration difficult as well as yawning feeling. Okay. Confidence, want of self at the beginning of menses. Delusion is pulled backward up. This is the feeling that the brain is pulled backward. Again, you can use metaphorically when the person is reaching to some stage and again it falls down, or someone is pulling it back and the situation is pulling back her. This is what delusion pulled backward. Delusion, body parts are absent. Okay, these are the unique symptoms. Delusion feels connected to the ground through the feet. मैं जमीन पे रहने वाला आदमी हूँ, ऊपर नहीं जाएगा. Delusion control every moment and thoughts is. So this is what the feeling that I need to control my emotions, I need to control my feelings, I need to suppress my angers and everything. So this is what thoughts and feeling has to be controlled. Okay. Delusion, coward he is. Why? Coward, I don't have power to do anything. Again, I need to do like this. So coward. Delusion, she is enclosed. Enclosed means closed in some place. So this is what again the feeling of prisoner. Okay. Delusion, supplicating faces cease. Delusion, rooms are swirled. Delusion, space is in. So these are the feelings that they are somewhere enclosed in some place. So they cannot be come out of that place. So most of times the feeling of being trapped. So here the nerve affection is there. When you feel being trapped, you cannot come out of something. Your body is giving signal to the nerve that your nerve is not working. So either you go into paralysis, either you go into stroke, or either you go into numbness and everything. So this is what these are the feelings associated with. Delusion, everything is unusual. Delusion, world is shabby. Why world is shabby? Because the situation is like this. So she feels that world is not good for me. She feels the feeling of being isolation also. Okay. Discontented, waking one. Because खुद से खुद को इतनी कंप्लेन होती है तो वो कंटेंट कहाँ रहेगी. डिसकंटेंटेड है. सुबह उठने के फौरन उसको डिसकंटेंट आ जाता है. मॉर्निंग में कंटाला आता है. एंड यू बॉर्डम. अगेन when they goes into outburst of certain things, she feels that I might lose my control over my emotions, so I may burst out. So there is a constant feeling that मुझे कुछ बोलना नहीं है, मुझे वो संभाल के रखना. That is the feelings of fear of violence. Indifferent apathy at the beginning of menses, love herself towards. Mistakes makes work in mental. Most of time the intellect is affected, so there is a mistakes. Okay, we will see. More poetical. So in a soric state, they love poet. They love to be fondled. They love to be careless, not a sexual aspect, just by the love. The pleaser general urinating in. ये कहाँ देखा था आपने? छेल्लो दिवस मूवी जोई है? Feelings. That is the same rubric. हाँ. Please see why I am connecting this. If you connect this, you can remember this. Okay. Restlessness, morning rising on. Why restlessness? Because they are discontented. They have a feeling that I have to do something, but I cannot, and that is what they goes into restlessness. So the Tri-Miasmatic aspect of this materia medica, I have put certain rubrics into a group of Sora, psychosis and syphilis. We are not going to read all the rubrics. Okay, just take a snap of this so you can have a few. See the ailment. So most of times in the Sora we are suffering from the sensitivity. The sensitivity is ailment from the admonition. कुछ डांट दिया, बोल दिया, गुस्सा कर दिया तो उसको बुरा लग जाता है. ठीक है. Ailment from the anger, vexation. खुद को गुस्सा आ रहा है, वेक्सेशन यानी फ्रस्ट्रेटेड स्टेज में है, उससे एंगर, वेक्सेशन, इंडिग्नेशन विल। अगर हम यहाँ देखेंगे तो हम सोचेंगे लाइकोपोडियम है, स्टेफिसेग्रिया है, इग्नेशिया है, कौन सी दवाई है? एंगर, वेक्सेशन, इंडिग्नेशन विल। राइटियस एंगर है ना? वो केस में था कि उसको पढ़ना था, पापा शादी में 25 लाख खर्चा कर देंगे पर मेरे कैरियर के लिए मुझे 5 लाख भी नहीं देंगे, 2 लाख भी नहीं देंगे। So that is what anger, indignation, vexation from. Cares and worries element from the quarrels, element from the reproach, anger, interruption from. गुस्सा आता है, कोई इंटरप्ट करता है तो, okay? Anger sudden, again गुस्सा जल्दी भी आता है, suddenly cease भी हो जाता है, चला भी जाता है. That is the sora. Anxiety, bad driving out of anxiety, children about his. Most of time Germanium has the feeling of their children. The children anxiety about their children. Most of time. Anxiety, family about. So these are the soric aspects. But when they goes into syphilis, exactly opposite of this thing is happening. When they have a family, love and anxiety, in syphilis they go indifference to loved one, indifference to family and everything. In a psychosis, there is mostly the intellect is affected, so they have the behavior of the childish. They are communicative, expansive, but their concentration is active in a certain place where the music is associated with this. But otherwise, their concentration goes down. They have a calculation mistakes. They have a mathematics mistakes. Okay, there is a anger, but their anger has been suppressed. There is a fear. Anxiety is always fear of losing self-control. Did you got? In the syphilis, in the talk, they are being very abrupt. So abrupt is the behavior. They are conscientious like a carcinosin, aversion to certain figure. Here the anxiety for the family and children. Here aversion to certain people. Okay. Censorious, critical, chaotic, complaining, company aversions. See, feeling of being loved and fondled, but here they don't want company in syphilis. Confusion of identity has to his confusion identity well known street in. तो हम कौन सी दवाई आ जाती है? पेट्रोलियम और कॉक्यूलस, well known street. Take this snap. This will help you to understand the miasmatic aspect. Here they goes into introspections in the sora. So when they goes into introspection, they always feel I have done these things, I have done these mistakes. So they goes into guilt, and finally the guilt is represented as the syphilis. Okay. So introspections, love overwhelming for humanity. They wanted to give love, and they are loving. Okay. They have optimism in the sora. They are patient. They are restless, very cheerful. But in the psychosis, there is a concentration very difficult. Concentration waking difficult, waking on. Concentration difficult with the yawning. Confidence, want of self. And finally, in syphilis, they become contemptuous, contented, conversations aversion to, death desire, again delusion alone. You know, उसको चाहिए, but feel they are alone. Delusion, body parts are absent. Delusion, body parts, erroneous idea that the state of his, it is the same rubric which is found in Sabadilla. Erroneous state of the body. Okay. Delusion, body parts separated. They are sorically, they are very sympathetic. But when they goes into psychosis, these things is happen. They want to escape. They have the feeling of envy. Again, we have the envy. Then we have the remedy like all animal remedies, lycopodiums, ophidias, and mammals. They have the envy feelings. Okay. Fear, impulse of his own. Fear of being observed her conditions. The same like calcaria. Okay. Fear of being observed her conditions. So again, what was the delusion? Delusion enclosed. Delusion faces, delusion failure, delusion floating, delusion hell he is in, delusion home away, delusion humility, lowless of, and these are the feelings they have in the delusion coward she is, delusion criticized she is. So these are the feelings that comes out of low self-esteem. Their esteem has been compromised. They goes into this state. Delusion neglected, delusion's room is smaller, delusion neglected duty his, but all metal wants to do perform their duties. Again, this remedy is also metal remedy. So they want to perform duty, but the failure aspect of the remedy metal is they have not done their duty properly, and that is the reason they always feel that I have neglected my duty. Did you got these things? So all delusion you have to remember ulta. ऐसा है तो इसका exact opposite feelings क्या है? That is what they produce delusion. Delusion objects are strange. They are loquacious, love herself, love sick, like anti-crude. Memory weakness for loss of done for what he has. Memory weakness for everyday things. रोज की रोज भूल जाती है. आज चाय में पत्ती डालना भूल गई, दूसरे दिन सब्जी में नमक डालना भूल गई. रोज वही काम करती है तो भी भूल जाती है. That is what memory weakness, loss of everyday things for. मतलब रोज जो काम करता है वही काम में कुछ ना कुछ भूल जाती है. दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. मैं एग्जांपल इसके लिए दे रहा हूँ क्योंकि ये एग्जांपल आपके सामने आएगा तो पता चलेगा कैसा रूब्रिक हमको लेना है. मेमोरी लॉस ऑफ व्हाट हैपन फॉर मेमोरी वीकनेस, लॉस ऑफ अकरेंस ऑफ द डे. आज सुबह से क्या हुआ पता ही नहीं, भूल जाते. सुबह से घर से निकला, वापस घर को आया, सुबह से क्या हुआ पता नहीं, भूल गया. Memory loss of words, शब्द भूल जाते हैं. So this is suggesting that their intellect is weak. Did you cut it? Okay. Localities भूल जाते हैं, नाम भूल जाते हैं, दूसरे नाम से बुलाते हैं, साइड को कंफ्यूज कर देते हैं, राइट साइड लेफ्ट साइड, स्पेलिंग में मिस्टेक करते हैं, डिफरेंशिएट कर नहीं पाते, डिस्टिंग्विश नहीं कर पाते, उसमें भी मिस्टेक करते हैं. So these are the कैलकुलेशन में मिस्टेक करते हैं. जब भी दिमाग यूज करना है उसको प्रॉब्लम. मेंटल एक्सर्शन, एग्रावेशन. सो दीज आर द साइकोटिक एस्पेक्ट ऑफ जर्मेनियम. अगेन देयर इज अ मिस्टेक्स इन टॉकिंग, मिस्टेक्स इन प्रोनाउंसिंग द वर्ड, मिसप्रोनाउंसिंग, रॉन्ग वर्ड यूजिंग, मिस्टेक्स इन वर्क्स, मिस्टेक्स मेंटल वर्क, राइटिंग, omitting the letter. So all the faculty of the learning is affected. So most of the time this remedy is used in dyslexic children. You came across to the child that they have a dyslexia, the learning disability. So you ask what was the learning disability. There is a criteria for learning disability. Psychologists give you a report, and in report they said this is for social skill, learning skill, writing skill, speaking skill, word skill. So that skill has missing. So when there is a skill is missing, you can think of this remedy. Okay. So again, writing wrong word, using wrong word, pessimistic. सूरा में optimistic था, psychosis में pessimistic हो गया. Okay. Sympathetic, compassion, desire for. यहाँ पे sympathetic था, यहाँ पे sympathy चाहिए दूसरे को, because they want good opinion from the others. Same like palladium. There is a sadness, striking general. Very important rubric is talk intended, say what she does not. This was the rubric I learned from Vijay sir in one of the cases in earlier days of my study. Sir has prescribed Natramur on the basis of this rubric, but in this rubric only two remedies there, Natramur and Germanium mat. So one patient, one adult male came to the sir and he had a lot of complaint. I don't remember that complaint, but the presentation is like that. When he used to talk something, he used to speak symptoms, and in between symptoms, blah, blah, blah. That was the things that he used to talk. And this happened 3 or 4 times when sir is conversing with that patient. So sir asked directly, why you are doing like this? So the fellow said that I don't want to do these things, but it happens automatically, sir. And this happens since I have this problem started, and in between he used to talk. So he don't want to speak something. He has no intention to speak something, but that automatically that word has comes out and he used to talk. So this was involuntary gestures, and sir picked that peculiar symptom, and sir used this rubric. Talk intent does not intend to talk. उसको बोलना नहीं है. What she does not, उसको वो बोलना नहीं है, फिर भी ऑटोमेटिकली निकल जाता है. and that is what the understanding of this rubric. And from the basis of sir has prescribed Netramure, and that fellow become normal. So this is what when I go through the germanium, I found this rubric. So I purposefully put into last, and I tell that I have to tell this experience of sir, and that is what sir has taught us. So from this whole the Tri-Miasmatic picture, I concluded this as a disposition. So when you got this type of disposition, you directly think this is Germanium Metallicum. So what kind of, we have to understand disposition by means of extroverted है या introverted है, will कैसा है, moral कैसा है, intellect कैसा है, attachment कैसा है, sensitivity क्या है, और reactions क्या है. That you have to understand. So the person is very introverted, talk indisposed to, and quiet disposition. So most of time introverted kind of personality comes to you. You can think of will. दो metal है, but the timid metal है. So weak will है, and there is a feeling that delusion he is a coward. So very weak will personality when you deal with the will. The intellect, most of time the metal, the soft metal has suffering the intellect deficiency. The same way the alumina is also soft metal, and the germanium is also soft metal. So both have the same, the intellect is affected, and that intellect affected in the form of what? So there is a destruction of the intellect lead to memory weakness, concentration difficult, mistakes specifically in the writing, talking and the size. When you find these things specifically, you can think of germanium metal. Again, alumina has the affections of the intellect, but alumina goes into state of confusion, and that confusion about their self, who I am, do I exist or not? Okay, so that their own identity has compromised in alumina. Again, in that also the identity has compromised, but here the identity is that I am nobody. Whereas alumina adapt to someone else, that's why the head belongs to others. Okay. Moral. The moral is very good because they are very sympathetic and loving, caring personality in the soric state. But when they goes into syphilitic state, their moral become affected, and they were moral want of, they become malicious, vindictive to loved ones. You know, we have seen anxiety about children and family. But again, here the malicious and vindictive to loved one, hatred towards the loved one, striking general to the loved one. So these are the reactions in the moral when this goes into syphilitic. Sensitivity, they are sensitive to admonition, desire appreciation, sensitive to being laughed and mocked at, sensitive to criticism, sensitive to indignations, sympathetic and wants sympathy from others and pities herself. So these are the sensitivity of the germanium. Emotions, most of time anger is the emotions and anxiety is the emotions comes into germanium. So anxiety and anger mark. Again, गुस्सा आता है, suddenly ठंडा भी हो जाता है. Same way. Anxiety about the children, anxiety about family, anxiety about others, anger, vexation and indignation. So these are the family oriented person. Attachment. Most of time this metal is attached with the artistic aptitude. Again, there is a learning disability. But again, in the psychosis, they have artistic aptitudes, desire green and brown colors in the paintings. Okay. So these are the few dispositions of the germanium mat. Now, in germanium mat, how the intellect is affected. So we have some proving points which suggest that how to interpret that this intellect is affected. So they wrote red instead of right. अगर लिखना है right, लिखते हैं red. लिखने में mistake हुआ. Said one word and understood another. Husband said physician twice and twice I understood physicist. मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ और सामने वाला क्या समझ रहा है. ठीक है. Wrote dyslexia instead of dyslexia. So this is the writing mistakes, the spelling mistakes. Said emulation occupates instead of occupation emulates. So we have the things which we call as spoonerism. The word is spoonerism. So flu and coryza. What patient says? Flu and coryza. You know, this is spoonerism. The word is mistaken. The same way like this. Said occupations emulates occupates instead of occupation emulates. Quick instead of quiet. said bladder when meaning bowel. ऐसा तो बहुत बार होता है. Memory absent, tried to spell Wilden, got to him and memory cut out. मतलब कुछ बड़ा स्पेलिंग बोलने को बोला तो आधा बोलेंगे फिर गायब हो गया. That is what the memory. Can't remember what say and do. Said work back to front, healing of the feet instead of feeling of it. Same I say that. Fluent forager, fluent corager. Okay. Mistakes in writing, leaving out last few letters in word or putting different letter at the end. For example, Barnes, word Barnes. Okay. Wrote 99, though 30, thought 39. વિચાર તો મગજમાં તે 39 હોય લખે 99. There are a lot of mistakes in the hearing, fresh food instead of teaspoon. Okay. So ઘણીવાર આવા પેશન્ટ આવે તો તમને એવું લાગે કે સાલા ને સમજ નહીં પડતી. We neglect these things because we want to correct them. Okay, this is not this, this is this. But actually you have to take that symptom that patient is telling you, give me Germanium, I am Germanium. And we are correcting that. Yeah, इतना समझ में नहीं आ रहा है यार. So wrote page number 4 instead of 13, filling instead of filling. So these are the few proving symptoms. So in the proving, arrive for the appointment 1 hour early. Friends have been saying that I talk in the glitch and make spelling mistake. Current for current and irritability. SO for also. I am repeating the phrases. So these are why I have write purposefully this thing, because most of time mother came to you, sir, and spelling mistake both high है. So आपने पूछे how they do mistakes. I had one patient, atopic dermatitis child from the USA came to me, and in that case I asked her to write the name. So she had the name RHRUHEE. So she write like this, RUHE like this. So I prescribed lycopodium to her, not Germanium. The mirror image, exactly writing ulta. So when someone is writing ulta, it is lycopodium. Same way someone is writing ulta or doing mistakes, another remedy is Germanium. So 1992 लिखना है तो उसकी जगह पे क्या लिख देते हैं 199.22. So this was the mistake, confused between left and right side. Now where you can use Germanium? See, in the provings it was a little bit, but where you can use Germanium, because we have to understand Germanium in a deeper sense, or their source and their poisoning effect. So we have to use this in a particular aspect. So Germanium is immunoenhancer. So the research shows that the molecular and clinical level of the reproductive demonstration that the organic Germanium has significant immunoenhancing property in animals and the humans. So Germanium is an immune modulator. Very important. So where we can use this remedy? Most of autoimmune disorders where we have to modulate the immune system. So this remedy is autoimmune remedy. So immune modulator and enhance and attribute the oxygen enrichment and antioxidant property. So it has been used to empower the immune system and consequently it battle immune type disease like cancer, AIDS, rheumatoid arthritis and lupus erythematosus. Now you have to understand this is syphilis, this is autoimmunity and this is autoimmunity. So we have this remedy, depth of remedy is syphilis. Germanium has been clinically proved to be stimulate the production of immune system, gamma interferon. It activates the resting macrophage and convert them into cytotoxic killer macrophage. It stimulates the natural killer cell. It stimulates the production of the T suppressor cells, augment the decreased immunity and restore impaired immune response in aged mice. This was the clinical uses. So this is the remedy which stimulates directly the immune system, to correct the immune system properly, to modulate the immune system which is which is affected in the patient as an autoimmunity. So Germanium is an oxygenator, so it is a potent antioxidant. It provides oxygen to particular cell, or if the Germanium is given to a particular cell, the cell can survive less of oxygen. So this remedy can be used in the higher altitude also. So lower the requirement of the oxygen consumption by the organ in culture and increase the lifespan of the animal under oxygen stress. When there is oxygen state, it supports that. So that is what where it happens when you go to the high latitude. So there is oxygen requirement is high, but we have deprived of, but the germanium helps them. So this is one of the forces. Protect against the carbon monoxide asphyxiation, stroke, Raynaud disease condition like with the oxygen starvation. So when there is a cyanosis, there is a capillary cyanosis, Raynaud's disease, you can think of this remedy. Beneficial in treating the eye disease and wound, especially after burns. Conjunction with the hyperbaric oxygen treatment brings about the significant improvement in cases of multiple sclerosis and degenerative conditions. These are clinically proven data. Okay. Provide a crystalline lattice network extensively bonded with the negative oxygen ion, and it is said to actually substitute for the oxygen and enable the attractions and eliminations of the acidifying hydrogen ions which detoxify the blood. So it is helping to detoxify the blood. Enhance the body's generations and energy without intake of extra oxygen. Oxygen कम है फिर भी energy maintain करेगा. Germanium is used in the genetic mutations also. Why and how? So Japanese research says that it was published that the microbial genetic research documenting that germanium has potent ability to protect against genetic mutations from gamma radiations and chemical mutagens. So when there is a radiations and chemical mutations occurs, specifically in the rat, the injection of the germanium produce radiation resistance suppressor T cells. So radiations को भी resist कर देता. So whenever the patient comes to you of the cancer, after chemotherapy, radiotherapy, we mostly use a cadmium salt, but germanium is another salt we can use to remove the bad effect of radiation, because it has ability to stimulate that and suppress that. The administration of the organic germanium to the patient undergoing radiation therapy for cancer offer a protection against the radiation-induced killing of the white blood and red blood cells. So most of the time after radiation, the patient suffer from the bone marrow suppression. In that case, you can use germanium as enhancers, bone marrow enhancers, or remove the radiation effect. So we concluded from the cancer, so we are going toward the cancer, from genetic mutation to the cancer. So in cancer also, Dr. Asai's clinic prescribe organic germanium along with the non-acid forming diet and stress counseling for a cancer patient. At the other extreme, North American Oncology Group administered germanium in intravenous drip of the cancer patients. So this is a newer treatment, not possible in the India, but in the USA. Cancer patients who have already undergone every other option before being admitted to the germanium clinic. Because of organic germanium, the natural substance with the virtually no demonstrated toxicity, germanium is classified as a food supplement and not a drug, which has enabled faster progress in establishing the therapeutic action in the human for many serious illness, include cancer. So two things it causes. It suppresses the cancer progressions as well as it enhances the energy of the patient when organic used as a food supplement. Again, the research shows that at cellular level in animal and human, the evidence of the organic germanium anti-cancerous property is solid and reproducible. How? Because tests suggest that germanium inhibits DNA and RNA protein synthesis of the cancer cell at very low concentration. So when you prescribe low concentration of germanium, it suppresses the DNA and RNA of the cancer proteins. So other study shows that the positive result was found against the cancer of the lungs, colon and myeloma. In that case, it is ability to increase the lifespan of the animals and certain types of the cancer by activating the immune system, immune mechanism, including the macrophage, suppressor T cells, natural killer cells and interferons. Because cancer is not happening in a one way. There is a mutation of the 4 genes in the cancers. Okay, one is suppression of the T cells. Because if T cells is activating, this gene is activating, then it starts apoptosis and cancer cell cannot survive. So this is suppressing that. So this is enhancing that, and that is suppressing the cancer cell. Germanium, the clinical study also shows that cancer sufferers improve noticeably and they experience considerable relief from the pain. So when there is no affections of the result on the cancer, but if you have to relieve the pain, you can use germanium as relieving the remedy. Where the organic germanium is administered intravenously, several patients experience mild side effects such as dizziness, which were resolved within a few minutes of the several hours. No evidence of any toxicity or bone marrow depression has been found when you have used germanium as a drug. So we have pain. Now we have to understand this remedy has effect on the pain also. So how it helps on the pain? So from the anecdotal reports, there are a lot of reports in the research. So anecdotal reports, it is found that the sufferer of the arthritis, sufferer of the angina and terminal cancers describe virtual absence of the pains and improved sense of well-being after taking large dose of organium germanium. So when they prescribe germanium in organic form, this is the pain relievers. Okay? These things that occur through the modulations of the neuron, how it happens? Now there is a science behind that. It happens because it is stimulating the serotonin and exerting the calming effect in the human behavior. So that is what through the some experience transient side effects such as lethargy and drowsiness and defective vision can be happening. The test has shown that analgesic effect comes about through preventing the degeneration of the encephalin. So encephalin is again the same neurotransmitter producing the pain in the body. So it helps in degradations of encephalin, prevent करे. So if degradation नहीं था तो pain बढ़ा करे. So most of time cancer patients have more encephalin, so more pain is there. Even you are prescribing morphine, they never have pain relief. So this is what degradations of encephalin prevent करे. So the pain, if it is a pain reliever, so it reduce the inflammation also. The same way the remedy is used in arthritis. So in 1992, it is in the treatment, most of metals are used in the rheumatoid arthritis. So previously the gold salt is used to treat the arthritis. So most of metals are used in the arthritis. Platinum, gold, ruthenium, metallocins are treat the rheumatoid arthritis or autoimmune disorders. Why? Because primary and secondary lesions of artificially induced inflammation were reduced after oral administration of the germanium. So it reduces the inflammations. That is what it is reducing the autoinflammatory state. Establish the lesion where the suppress after long-term treatment. So जो suppress हो गया उसको establish कर देता है. Organic germanium restored enhance the level of interleukin 1, the product of involved in immune regulation, and it induced and enhanced suppression of the cell activity in arthritic and non-arthritic rats. So what happened? Which are radiation resistant. So defective suppressor cells activity has been implicated in the pathogenesis of the autoimmune disease such as rheumatoid arthritis. So again, it works on arthritis through the modulating macrophage and functions. Inhibition of the macrophage functions could interfere with the antigen presentations to the helper T cells, which could lead to the induction of the suppressor cells, and finally it suppresses the inflammation. So inhibition of IL-1 productions in the inflamed joint could result in the reduction of the local inflammation and the tissue destruction. So it helps to remove the tissue destruction. So this remedy has a vast effect from the genetic mutation to the cancer, to the pain, to the arthritis. It also affects the psyche of the patient. So in psyche of the patient, germanium is used to treat the chronic psychosis, depressions, epilepsy and the schizophrenia. Why? Because it has power to increase the brain oxygen supply, and that is the reason that cleansing the effect on the blood quality, and that is the reason that the neurochemical become normal and they are come out from this. So here it is that improve hormonal and immune function will also have their own effect on the individual mental health and behavior. अगर तन चंगा है तो मन चंगा. That means our physical health is good, so psychological health become good and our behavior also become good. So this is what the effect on mental illness. Therapeutic effect, where you can use the germanium. So germanium is overall it is a health enhancing effect, oxygenation, immune modulations and free radical scavenging. So when you find the person is suffering from lot of free radicals, goes into autoimmune, you can think of this remedy. You have to purify the blood. So this is what the therapeutic range of this effect. So where you can use? So you can use in this kind of disorders like Candida albicans, where the yeast organism prefer anaerobic environment. Why anaerobic? Oxygen is less. So when you prescribe this, oxygenation become proper, yeast become away. So Candida will be cured. In malaria also, where development of resistance strain to the various chemical means the possibility of infection is only reduced by individual stronger immune system. So it helps to enhance the immune system, so malaria can be wiped out. Senile osteoporosis. What happens in senile osteoporosis? Where administration of germanium seems to decrease the serum level of PTH. If the parathormone level increase, it increases the bone resorption from the body, and it produces osteoporosis in the bones, and finally may lead to the kidney damage also and CKD. So CKD is secondary to the PTH, hyperparathyroid hormone. So in that case also it reduces the germanium, preventing this bone mass decrease. It prevents the PTH to increase in the blood. Heart disease and angina pectoris, it is also used in circulatory problem like the Raynaud's disease, because when the Raynaud's disease there is a capillary is suffering from the lack of oxygenation, blueness, and that is the Raynaud's phenomenon. So it produces the oxygen enhancing system. In eye disease, produces glaucoma, black cataract, detached retinas, and inflammation of the retina and optic nerve. So in that case also it helps. And in epilepsy, no specific symptoms of epilepsy is given in germanium. You have to understand the man in disease. Okay? So now we have to understand, see, when we have to understand the effect from certain point of view, we have to understand the effect from the poisoning from this drug. So where the depth of actions is happening. So we know the actions by certain clinical trial. But when we go deeper by the poisoning, so in poisoning it produces a deeper pathology, and from that pathology we can understand the medicine which produces the disease. The same medicine will cure in a dynamic form. This is our law of homeopathy. So what it have produced? In a poisoning it produces general malaise. In GIT it produces the symptoms of vomiting, anorexia, and weight loss. Okay. So when the person goes into emaciation, you can think of this remedy. Okay. Muscular problem including generalized muscle weakness, diffuse muscle atrophy, myopathy, gait, and disturbances. So this remedy is used. Muscular dystrophy, spinal muscular atrophy. These are the remedies to be used. Multiple sclerosis, okay, paralysis, blood. In a blood it produces anemia and severe lactic acidosis. So when there is a lactic acidosis, you can use this remedy. In nervous system, in vast range of germanium in the nervous system, it produces muscles and nerve damage. It produces peripheral neuropathy from diabetic to the deeper level. Paresthesia including tingling and numbness of extremity. Dysarthria, poor speech. So when the speech is affected, the Broca's and the Wernicke's area is affected. Coordination, the gait and ataxia. So the cerebellum is affected. The loss of large nerve sheath. So all the spinal cord is affected. Nerve fiber loss. Dysfunctions, multiple cranial nerve palsies. So mostly facial nerve palsy we can see right now. Hypoglossal palsy. Gliosis. So gliosis is a brain tumor. Okay. Glue-like substance in the dorsal column of the spine. So there is a gliosis in the spine. So there is a spinal tumor. In spinal tumor you can use this remedy. Impairment of the truncal ataxia, air reflexia, lack of reflex, tongue fasciculations. Fasciculations because of hypoglossal nerve stimulation, and uncontrolled nerve twitches. So any uncontrolled nerve twitches, single muscle twitching of single muscles or group of muscles, causticum is the remedy. The same way this remedy can be used in that effect. So nervous system has a major affection. So you can find out germanium in major nerve disorders or developmental disorders. And also you can use kidney. It also affects the kidney and liver. In first slide we have seen the sphere of action. So it also affects on the kidney. In kidney it produces the nephropathy, renal damage. So how it renal damage? It prevents the parathormone. So when it is parathormone is not preventing, so parathormone is going to increase, it produces calcium resorption and it damages the kidney. So same way that it helps in CKD cases also. The renal damage including chronic renal failure, severe renal dysfunction, deteriorated renal function with no proteinuria or hematuria. You know, there is no proteinuria or hematuria, that means kidney is not the primary affection of the case. The kidney is secondary due to PTH affection, parathormone, hyperparathyroidism. So in that case you can use germanium as the remedy. Persistent renal failure for some times after the event, specific tubular degeneration within the kidney, vacuolar degenerations of the renal tubule, degeneration of distal tubule, degenerations of, so all the kidney has got degeneration, atrophy. And so most of the syphilis of the kidney is there. Severe hydropic and vacuolations of the tubular cells. And the liver. So what happens in liver? It produces hepatotoxicity, hepatomegaly, liver dysfunction, liver steatosis. Most of the time right now we have the cases that USG we can find out fatty liver, first grade, second grade, third grade. This is called liver steatosis. Fat into the liver, fat deposit. Pan-lobar steatosis or severe hepatic steatosis. So this is the remedy having a depth of actions on the liver affection. So this will end our today's sessions on germanium metallicum. I am going a little bit faster because we have less time. But this germanium, still we have not understood in a depth. But I have given a few glimpses of this remedy and which I have used in 2 cases. So I got wonderful result. So you can use and share with us that we can have another depth of understanding of this remedy. Thank you all and thank you online learners.